So I'm Chris Bertinoli with Ankurr Studios. Obviously, I'm sitting here with Jesse Ferney with the Heroes Defense Fund. And first and foremost, dude, I'm super honored to have you, here in the studio with us today, and super stoked to talk to you about Heroes Defense. You guys do a lot of good. Obviously, I know Garrett. He and I go way back. I was at the gala last year, and so just, dude, getting you in here today to talk to you is really kind of an honor for us.
So I got to stop you and just say thank you to Ankurr Studios for having us in here today. We're really grateful for your support of Heroes Defense, and this being our first interaction together. I think we'll be good partners going forward because we need help in telling our story, and that's honestly that's the most difficult thing in running a nonprofit is telling our story of why we do it, how we do it, what we do with the funds, and for transparency's sake and for the future of benefiting the community. Telling our story in this way is a great.
So
Great
go
medium.
into that, Jesse. Like I think that's a great intro. I don't know. I think a lot of people in the community know what you guys do, but tell everybody what you guys do, what you're about, and
Yeah, so a little bit of a history of Heroes Defense. I mean, you can read our mission statement on our website, heroesdefense.com or org. We'll take you and learn a little bit more, probably more than we can actually get into today. It's got brochures and things of what we do, but I'll just kind of get into the history of it. So Garrett Mickle, who's the CEO of Paul Davis Restoration of Idaho,
good dude.
and a great guy,
Great dude.
as well as Travis Snowder, who owns a company here in town called Qualtech.
Great dude as well.
Good guy, an entrepreneur here in town, and also my business partner. 11 years ago, I think this will be the 11th annual flagship event that we do for Heroes Defense. 11 years ago, they got together and just realized that there's not a whole lot of remembrance about 9/11. Now, I mean, it makes me feel super old, right? that a lot of our first responders in our community weren't even alive during 9/11, right? But it's not just about 9/11. It's what it represents. It's how it affected training for all first responder communities across the country, standards of procedure, and all these different things, as well as remembering those who fell that day, both civilian and first responders. So they decided to get together. We'll start the nonprofit, which is called PD Cares, and our DBA is called Heroes Defense. If you're ever looking at our 501c3 up, that is the structure of it. They decided, hey, we see some budget gaps here for some of our first responder communities. Honestly, I wasn't around then, so I can't remember the very first items that they bought for the fire department, but I believe it was either AEDs or the Jaws of Life. So they got together, they had a fundraiser dinner, and I think they raised somewhere around $15,000 or $20,000. It was a great event. They had, their network of friends, and they saw some real support in that, and so they continued to do it the next year. So we bought, these pieces of equipment, which is kind of our flagship program, right? It's equipment and resources to provide, small budget gaps and things like that in our first responder communities.
Real quick, let me ask you about that because so you guys, this is 11 years ago, you guys recognized this gap and Jaws of Life. So give me an example. I think you and I were talking a couple months ago. Was it Ammon? I think Ammon Fire Department.
Yeah. Again, we're really excited to talk about these opportunities because we haven't done, and it's my fault, we haven't done the best about sharing some of the things that these pieces of equipment have done. But yeah, we were able to buy the Jaws of Life, which the Ammon Fire Department, and EMTs, it's a volunteer department. But we were able to buy them the Jaws of Life, which pretty much every department of substance has in their arsenal to be able to save people from car accidents. And we just get random texts out of the blue from first responders. And actually, somebody that works for Garrett, Blake Hansen, for Paul Davis, drove past an accident. And the first responders shared with him that they were using the Jaws of Life to save this lady to get out of her car.
That's so awesome.
And I think, so from anecdotes like that over the last 24 to 36 months, we've heard of 6 or 7 people getting saved from that one piece of equipment.
That's amazing.
Now, we didn't do that. We're not taking the credit for doing the saving, but for those that donate to Heroes Defense, even the things like that on the smaller end of things that we've done, that's impacted saving people's lives from a piece of equipment that they might not have had otherwise.
Well, I think that's important to understand, too. I think most people in our community probably think all fire departments are created equal. All police departments are created equal, and that's not the case. My dad was a volunteer firefighter, and I remember watching the department that he worked with kind of grow. And they grew through budgets and through that community growing. And Ammon, where you say Ammon Fire Department is volunteer, that a lot of people don't understand. That means that a lot of those guys are volunteering there They're on paid shifts, right? It's not like, a bigger department that, hey, everybody just reports and these guys are making a salary. So there's different levels of departments and different levels of support.
And they do have full-time guys, so I know that a good chunk of their staff is full-time, but you're right. It functions very differently than the Idle Falls Fire Department. And I honestly, here's one of the unique things about Heroes Defense, including myself and my co-founder. None of us are first responders. So we don't pretend to speak for first responders. We don't pretend to understand the organization or the structure of any of the departments or organizations. We just know what we see. And Ammon's like a great example. I'm just going to single somebody out. John Mulbert, who's now Chief John Mulbert, has been one of our best supporters over the last several years. And watching him go from attending our events and bringing his guys and managing guys and bringing them to some of our events like shoots and golf tournaments and stuff like that. Just in the last couple of months, he was made the Ammon Fire Chief.
That's awesome.
So, we're working in conjunction with him right now. We did a memorial last 9/11 that's in front of Station 1 for Chief Johnson, Dwayne Johnson, in his department. But this year we have another piece of steel that we're dedicating another 9/11 memorial in front of the Ammon Fire Station, because we promised that to our supporters and the community and to that fire station. So John Mulbert, who just was a great supporter and first responder within the community over the years, is now the fire chief over there, and we're working in conjunction with him on designing and where to put it and everything else to finish that so that they can proudly have that memorial in front of their fire station in Ammon.
That's cool. That's a cool story. So let's talk about, you mentioned a couple of the things that you guys do to raise money throughout the year for the Heroes Defense Fund. So talk about these events. What are you guys doing to raise money? How has it progressed from 11 years ago to today? And, what do you guys do to get those funds in?
Yeah, so going back just a little bit to where, like I said, they first started with a dinner. We're able to do some really, really good, buy some equipment and resources. And they really saw some momentum in that 9/11 tribute dinner. So it grew and it grew and it grew. Now, I came on to Heroes Defense basically at the beginning of 2024, end of 2023, to plan my first gala for last year. I can only speak for that event, my participation. I haven't been to anyone prior to that. But our event last year raised almost $400,000 in revenue, right? We had some costs associated with that, but almost $400,000 in revenue. We had almost 500 people in attendance, and that's not because we couldn't have more. That's all the fire code allows us to fit in the building, especially when the fire chief and the inspector, whoever's
are there.
Over that,
the guys are there
in the room, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, we turn people away from that event every single year. So it's become this really special thing where our supporters, they see what we do with the money. We're very transparent. 100% of our funds go to either the programs that we do, the staffing, even our office we love to talk about. Our new office downtown here is open 24 hours to first responders and their departments to use for anything. They've had Super Bowl parties there. They've trained bomb dogs and drug dogs inside of my office. We provide office space for the chaplains of Idaho to function inside of.
So cool.
Who honestly don't get enough credit. They're not a direct first responder organization, but they are a great organization that does a lot of good that we really try to help and keep around to help because they support our first responders directly and go on calls consistently and 100% volunteer. So,
and I saw that over there. The way you guys have that office set up is really cool. It's almost a place for them to come and decompress.
Correct.
These guys, these girls, they're seeing things that sometimes they just need some space. They need an area, and that you guys provide that over there if they ever need it.
Yeah, so you actually bring up a good point, because that's something that we like to point out about Heroes Defense is we raise money, and our flagship program has basically been equipment and resources, right? But it's not always about funds. Some people might look at a nonprofit like Heroes Defense and think like, man, the fire department has a huge budget. Like, they have money for everything. It's not always about funds. I'll give you an example. Sometimes they have more than enough money in a training budget for something, but the people that they have to contact to do the training are booked out 4 years. And something that Heroes Defense just has, I'll tell you, Heroes Defense is number one quality in between me and my co-founders and our supporters. We have the best network of anybody that I'm aware of in terms of national exposure, national contacts. Travis's business, Qualtech, and its affiliations with New York City fire departments and fire departments all across the country. So sometimes it's not always do we have the money for it? Sometimes it is, do we have the resources and contacts to book a trainer to come at a certain time
to help?
Or we just started. I mean, it's a big project that's going to take a few years, but the fire department here, we're trying to start a regional training facility. That's not something you can just go to bond with in the community. It's you got to help people understand the need, kind of get it started. That they don't have a budget for yet. So we went to a friend of ours. Again, it's contact, Diversified Containers, James Hendrickson. We contacted him and said, hey, can we buy some of these shipping containers, these steel shipping containers that you can beat the living crap out of,
Burn
and
them
weld together, you can
over.
move, change the setup. Can we buy chunks of these and just slowly grow a training facility for the Idle Falls and even for the region, for a fire department, for property that they already have? The Idle Falls Fire Department actually came to us first and said they were looking to do that, but they were looking to procure it from, somebody that probably sells this through a public works bid and all these things. We're like, well, if we get it, we'll get a hell of a deal. Go through a network of ours of somebody that already supports us, probably end up paying less than the public would have. Exactly. Now, can Heroes Defense fund a whole multi-million-dollar training facility? Not necessarily, but we'd like to.
But you have the resources to kind of
But
chain
to get it
that
started,
together.
show the community. Anybody that's in this region drives past where Highway 20 and the interstate connect, and there's this old, training building that's literally falling over. They cannot use it. It is too unsafe to use, and that is a property that our community owns that they cannot train at because the facility's broke. So if we get things going and we see have the public see the training that will go on there with these shipping containers and some of these things, it garnishes attention, awareness within the community. And then if later we have to get grants or public funds or however we go, it goes a little bit smoother. But it's hard you see school bonds and stuff like that. It's hard
it's a
to
challenge.
Just go in and say we need $10 million or whatever it is to fund something like that. But Heroes Defense likes to get the ball rolling on things, and they need the support and they need the training now. So kind of along with the fact that it's not always about money is some of the reasons of why we're doing what we're doing. So I live in Salt Lake. I'm born and raised here. My family's been here 150 years. So I've always had a foot in the fence here or a house here.
Right.
But even from Salt Lake looking up here, people understand how this is a growing community. Southeast Idaho in general, but specifically like Idle Falls. And as the community grows, the problems change.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, with fire, when it comes to how they train to fight fires, our buildings are getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't understand it because I'm not a first responder or a firefighter, but I've had them explain to me, you don't understand what it's like to train to fight a fire like the building that we're sitting in now versus like an office building that's one story.
Totally
been
different.
A long time. Totally different. Apartment complexes, multifamily housing. Not just that, but like the EMT calls they come on. Not to be like morbid, but last year at the end of the year, we had a van roll that killed several, some immigrants
right off
that were being
Highway
smuggled
20
through our highway, right?
Yep.
That's awful for law enforcement. That's awful for our firefighters. And, I won't go into details, some things I know about that, but that was really, really hard for the people that showed up to that call. Those are different problems than when I grew up here.
Yep.
Right? The amount of officer-involved shootings that we've had here based on the crime that comes with a growing community and being in an area that happens to have a lot of traffic through an interstate and a highway, that has drastically changed since I was a kid.
I think you bring up a good point because you can't fight a fire with the same techniques and technology that you were using 10 years ago. When you're absolutely right, you've got a growing community. We have more infrastructure going in throughout this community now than we've ever had. I grew up in northern Utah as well, and so to see it change and to support these guys, and it is a challenge. We see, people that are going to get funding through bonds. I've got my brother-in-law's a firefighter in Chubbuck, and I can't tell you how long I've been talking to him about a new facility. It's literally probably been 10 years that he's been talking about this, going through the political process and they're growing. Chubbuck City is growing. I mean, they're getting a target, everybody, right? And so he had the cool opportunity of driving out to Wisconsin to pick up a new ladder truck that now extends higher than the ladder trucks that they have used in the past. And the training that they had to go through to know and familiarize themselves with that equipment. You know, it's vitally important to support these guys. And so what you do, I think there's a huge gap, and I think it does facilitate collaboration, which is really cool. If you can get the ball rolling with the training center and you guys start that process, then other people within the political process see that and they're more apt to support it.
Correct.
So
Yeah, the visualization creates the awareness, which highlights the need, right? Yeah, so event wise, we've done that flagship event that's grown and grown and grown into what it is. Like, I'm not even, without moving to the floor of the Mountain America Center, which we're not opposed to, next year or something.
which that it was at the Mountain America Center last year.
Yes,
So
we
we
do it
went
at the Blue Cross Center, which is the conference center attached to it, but we've outgrown it.
Yeah.
So we might have to move it to the floor where they have the hockey games and stuff, just because we want as many people possible to come. So that night it's a formal dinner and auction, and some of our supporters. I mean, if I call one out by name, I'm going to leave some out, but I just have to tell you, you know who you are. We have some people spend some serious money to support us, and they're more thankless than we are, but we just want to highlight and thank them because they're the only way that we're able to do what we do. But which actually does bring me to a point, which within our kind of brand awareness, I guess if you'd call it, as a nonprofit, because this is our flagship event, this 9/11 gala that we do every year, the Saturday before 9/11. It is a formal event. Some people spend a lot of money. We do have a variety of items that we auction off that night, so a lot more of us average folks like me can get in there and actually buy some items. But I will say, look, not everybody can come to our gala and buy a table or buy a ticket and spend a bunch of money. So one of the goals of why I came on as the director of Heroes Defense is that there is actually a bigger power in having a bigger community that doesn't have to come to a particular event like that. We'll always have that event, and I think we can grow it. And it is, the major source of funds that we use for Heroes Defense at the moment. But there's several ways that people can support us, the public at large. We have a great merchandise store that we've gone off the ground running that's on our website as well. I mean, if you can buy a $20 hat or a $40 hoodie that you'd buy anywhere else, I have to tell you, our logo, which is like a HD badge, you'll see it on our website, or maybe we can splice it in here. But our logo and the designs that we do on there, when you wear our pieces of merchandise and clothing and hats around town, the first responder communities know that logo. So just seeing that, even if you were sitting down at dinner in the evening with your family and a first responder that is in civilian clothes that walks by that doesn't even, maybe not even talk to you, you got to understand that the support that they feel when they see that, they directly tie it to you supporting us without even having to say anything. And it goes a long ways, because if our whole community, which is greatly growing, if we're all wearing Heroes Defense merch, and again, 100% of the net profits from that, outside of our cost to make it, go directly towards funding our programs.
So they go onto the website, you can order it right there.
Yeah, our website's it's a Shopify account. It's just like everything else you'd buy on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere else, and they're cool. I mean, honestly, they look good. I wear them every day. In fact, I'm actually wearing a really nice golf shirt that has Heroes Defense logo that we sell on our website as well. But everything from T-shirts, hats, windbreakers, all kinds of stuff. I mean, we've made custom Spud Kings jerseys that we actually still have a few left on the website. We're always coming out with new SKUs and stuff like that. But that's a good way where it's like, we have golf tournaments, we have shooting events at the Skyline Gun Club. We went from 1 to 7 events in 1 year. So we're always trying to have events. But again, not everybody can attend every event, but everybody can support. I mean, you can go on our website and sign up for $5 a month for a monthly subscription donation.
Right.
Like that is very, very powerful, because if our whole community gives a few dollars a month and signs up for that on a monthly basis, we can do some really, really special things.
Do you guys have a goal? Like, most nonprofits have a goal of, hey, we want to raise this amount of money this year to put towards these things. Yeah. I know when I've talked to you in the past, Jesse, you guys, dude, these guys are big dreamers. Like, you guys.
Professionally, we're very ambitious.
Yeah.
And so, our project vision goes way ahead of where our funds are at the moment. I mean, we have in the works that we've talked about, it's on a several-year project, but we have contractors that are waiting and ready to build something we call the Hero House, which would be built by veterans, for veterans, for somebody to staff by veterans. We talk about how that place, when it gets built, it will perpetually be painted on the walls, just so that the veterans like have something to do. And we've talked about having equine therapy be able to be done there at an arena. I mean, these are lofty plans that take
Multi-year.
multi-year and 7-figure projects. So in terms of money goal, we don't even stop it. We do have funding goals for every project, and we try to keep them, our direct goals, just so that you as our supporters can see when we have an event that money is spent now on the things that we do. So like from last year, sometimes I make lists of the things that we've done because it's hard to remember. But, like we promised Ammon the 9/11 memorial.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't, those are serious funds that are dedicated. And by the way, a lot of the contractors that help with that do the work for free or extremely subsidized. So they really try to help us help with the cost there. But we have memorials going up. Last year, we brought the Tunnels to Towers 9/11 Mobile Museum. That's another example of our network of people. We had great attendance.
Dude, that was so cool, by the way.
We put over 12,000 people through that mobile museum, including every 8th grader in the Idle Falls School District. Whether they wanted to or not, that's kind of the educational purpose of what we're doing. And they loved it. Like I was there every single day and watched every single class go in and come out, and they all came out with smiling faces. But to have that Tunnels to Towers organization, people have heard about them. They pay off mortgages for fallen first responders, from military to firefighter and police. They have one mobile museum in the country,
and it was here.
Because of the commanding officers that staff it, that are our friends, we got them on 9/11. Like they were here. The mobile museum was in Idaho Falls, Idaho on 9/11. So one thing that we really want to do a better job as explained to the public at large who maybe haven't heard about us and our supporters is the national attention that we've garnished for Heroes Defense. I'm telling you, if you spoke to these guys, we had 7 or 8 guys that were commanding officers during 9/11 last year. Some of them come to our events and they tell their stories. Some of them for the first time. That's happened before.
Jeez, dude. And I was there.
Yeah.
Like at this last one.
Yeah. And that's, so you saw Kevin Calhoun. I mean, that's the guy that, when the national news wants to speak to a pundit on 9/11 about what happened that day, Kevin's the guy that speaks to that. On the national news. So these are really, really important people in our country's history for that event, related to that event. And when they come out here, they feel, what I want to get across is that our community and our support for these guys and these people affiliated with 9/11, this is their favorite place to come. I'm going to speak for them because I heard several of them tell me that last year. This is the place where they feel most supported, because at home, they don't get that very much.
Yeah.
And in a lot of the cities that the mobile museum or where they travel otherwise, it's not the same thing. They don't get the response or the 100% warm welcome like they do here. And because of that, we have kind of this national ecosystem of people from over there who are affiliated with 9/11 wanting to come speak. I mean, I won't get into I'll tell you about a special one now that we're ready to announce for a gala this year. But because of some affiliations that we have with Brotherhood Designs, another nonprofit that makes they're firefighters, currently active firefighters that take these decommissioned fire hoses and they make these American flags out of them. They have different themes. Sometimes it's thin blue line, sometimes it's military, sometimes it's firefighter.
You had a couple of these at the gala.
Yeah, we sell those in our auction items that are one-of-a-kind pieces of art with one-of-a-kind materials. We did awesome. Decommission 9/11 hose multiple times with some of their items, but just even in our affiliation with them, like they're nowhere near here. They're based out of Indiana. And with some of our affiliation with them, we recently met Helen Comparator, who is the wife of Corey Comparator, who was killed saving his family at the Trump rally last year. And through just speaking with her. And some things I won't talk about in talking about a memorial that they're dedicating next week, July 13th, on the anniversary of her husband's death. We became friends with her and her daughters, and we invited them. So she's never really been asked to speak, other than some news things like close to the time that happened. She's never really been asked to come and tell Corey's story, right? Everybody wants to know about the day that happened,
right,
and the details of it. We don't. We know what happened. We want to know because Corey was a veteran for 10 years, and then Corey was a 30-year firefighter and a former chief of the Buffalo, Pennsylvania Fire Department. And Corey died saving his family. So what we want to tell the story of, and why we've invited Helen and her daughters, Kaylee and Allison, to come out and speak at our event, is because They represent what every first responder should be, and really what they are. The fact is that every first responder that is trained well and is dedicated to a life of service would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're having her come out to the tribute gala to speak.
I love that. I love that. Corey, sounds like a pretty amazing dude. And so she's coming.
Right.
His
She's
wife
coming
is
to the
coming to
event
the gala.
to be a special guest speaker. We're also going to have some items and some surprises affiliated and themed around Corey and Corey's life. But look, we're getting stories. It's not for exploitation of somebody who had something awful happen to her. It's the fact that her husband and their family lived a life of first responders.
Of service.
The irony of it is that he passed after his life of service because of the character that a first responder had, right, in dying for his family. But
and I know you guys, you just talking to you about this, you helped her kind of get this process because of the experience that you guys have had. You guys have gotten monuments and different things, done in communities, and so wasn't there some collaboration there with her?
Yeah, originally, I mean, she was able to get it done for herself. She bought the memorial herself. We did have some plans to help her navigate with the city. If anything else, we offered to really go public if the city wasn't going to be cooperative with her in that memorial. But honestly, our real affiliation at the moment is literally just the fact that I personally am flying out this Saturday to attend the dedication of the memorial.
Right on.
And so, she's going to come support us at our event. We're going to go support her at that. But really, we're just taking these stories because everybody knows what happened that day. And they connect it to the patriotism, the first responder communities. And we just want to tell stories. Because 9/11, we're able to tell that story, and we have for a long time, and we will never stop. That event will always be the 9/11 Tribute Gala. But as we garnish national attention, we want to tell these stories because they connect. A 25-year-old firefighter or police officer understands what happened that day. No political affiliation. It's not a political thing that happened to her and her family, right? It just happened to be where they were at. A younger first responder understands what happened that day, and it galvanizes them to understand that I want to be like Corey, right? And that's obviously directly in line with the mission of what we do. So I have some other guest speakers that are very close to being booked. When we talk again, we'll talk about that. I'll say this to the supporters who are going to see this, and as Heroes of Defense put some marketing for our gala and stuff out. If you're a member of the public that can possibly attend, buy tickets to the event. They're going to sell out. We always turn people away at the door. You can buy them at tables. We have on my website the ticket list of how to attend the event. But the impact, the meaning, the stories, the speakers, and the items that we're going to have in our gala this year are like nothing we've ever had for Heroes Defense before.
I can vouch for that. He's given me a little bit of a sneak peek, but we're not going to say it right now. But and Jesse, I can't tell you how awesome we think it is that you guys tell these stories, that you get them out there, and that community, that brotherhood, that sisterhood within that community know that they're supported. I think that's the cool thing. We're sitting here, it's the week after the July the 4th, and we just saw everything that went on in Texas. And you're starting to hear these stories come out about these heroes, these first responders, and that's I think, really, quite frankly, that's the heart and soul of every community in this nation is these men and women that give so much for us, and they're really, I would say, the unsung heroes, right? You just don't hear these stories.
It connects to the public because, look, we live in a time where a lot of people are very into finding like a greater meaning in their life. I know that's a very general statement, but within our community and the place in which we live, with a very, very, very high percentage, I'm not going to say 100, but it's staying close. High percentage. If you ask the average person in our area, they'd be like, I absolutely support first responders. And they do. But sometimes it's difficult to say, what the heck can I do about it? Other than share a thing on social media, right? Which if it's ours, great, please do it. but just sharing a thing or sharing a patriotic thing on social media just to show your friends and family that you support. So, but it's also difficult. Like I don't blame. I am that guy, right? I only started Heroes of Defense because I was like, I love this. I've always said I support Heroes Defense. That I support first responders. And what the heck can I do about it? Well, I got time now in my professional life, so I'm going to run this thing. And I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never ran a nonprofit. I've run businesses, and we're going to raise funds and do some good for the community. Not everybody has that time, but they don't always know what they can do to support the first responders. Mm-hmm. It's not like you can walk up to the fire department and be like, I want to give you guys money or whatever. And not anybody's going to walk in and lobby for, I think you should take more of my tax money.
Yeah.
to do whatever.
That's
you know,
not happening.
So that's the gap that like a nonprofit fills. To be able to support those guys. So just to give you like a few examples, if you don't have money, come volunteer. If you have some money, buy a hat, buy a hoodie, buy some merchandise, come to a golf tournament that's not expensive, come to a shoot that's not expensive. If you are fortunate enough to do well in our community and are a leader in our community, come and attend our event and really see what's going on. All of the management from the first responder communities that we have, which, look, I am going to mention some people by name. Chief Bryce Johnson of the Idaho Falls Police Department, Chief Dwayne Nelson of the Idaho Falls Fire Department, Sheriff Sam Hulse of Bonneville Sheriff's Department, and Chief John Mulber of the Ammon Fire Department. I don't want to leave people out in other surrounding communities, but specifically those four, we have some of the best leadership that I've ever seen in first responder communities. They love their people. They would do anything for their guys and girls. And we couldn't have better leadership in our community doing the things that they do. They come to our events, they speak at some of our events, and I couldn't thank them more. And seeing them gives you the confidence that as we support these first responder communities, that they are in good hands, leading the community as they grow forward, and their experiences outside of here. So
it's good to hear, and I've talked to you a little bit about those experiences outside of here in communities that are larger than ours. And I think they're the right people at the right time to be doing that. And not only that, but then even I know guys on the department and girls. I know these firefighters here locally. They're our friends, they're our neighbors, and just great people. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. The other thing I want to throw in there that Jesse didn't mention, if you want to support monthly, you can do a $5 donation or whatever on the website. And, I think that's huge, Jesse, because there are a lot of people out there that say, hey, I would support something. I want to support something, but we're all busy. We get into our day-to-day. We're all in our routines. Heck, if you're raising kids, that's all you're thinking about is I got to get, little Timmy to baseball and I got to get Sally to dance. And, and so if you want to do something positive and you want to make an impact for these first responders, go grab some swag, and then you could just make a minimum donation monthly to help support. And what's cool is we're going to tell these stories. So if you want to participate in that, Jesse and I are going to do this, we hope, at least once a month, and we're going to get these stories out of where that money's going, what they're doing to support it. And then if you have the means to come to the gala, come to the gala.
100%.
Dude,
that is our flagship event. Again, like most of the funds at the moment that we use throughout the year to fund our programs come from that event. So it is vitally important that we fill it with the right people who are aligned with our mission and really bought into what we do. Again, what we're grateful for you for and Ankurr in coming in this situation is being able to tell things we've done in the past with the funds, projects that we have ongoing. I haven't listed everything. I mean, I made a social media post today with like 105 pictures of just stuff that we've supported over the last year. And we really want our supporters to know that your funds are going to great causes and that we use your money, including our office specifically, is an ongoing program that we use for first responders. So,
well, right on, man. Anything you want to say to wrap it up today? And
no, just to follow us. Our events are often followed the most on Facebook. All of our specific events you can follow in there just so they can be on a calendar and you get notifications for. The best way to learn a lot more about us, find donations, become a volunteer, buy tickets to our gala is, again, on heroesdefense.org or .com. It'll take you to the same website. Follow our social medias. If you look up Heroes Defense, we will come up on anything. You'll see our logo that they'll put in these videos. But we just want to thank our supporters who have supported us for years and been loyal to us, and would ask for the community that are just learning about us to look into what we do and please support and attend our events, attend our website, learn more about us, and become engaged in the community and the first responder communities that need our help.
Awesome. Thanks for your time today, brother.
Thank
and
you.
Thanks for doing so much good for the community and Heroes Defense. Tell Travis and Garrett thanks as well.
Sir.
Okay.
Thank
See you
you.
next time.
Yep.